All right, folks. Sorry for the technical difficulties. I don't know what's going on. Zoom's working, Facebook's working. They just don't want to talk to each other today for some reason. But we are here with another episode of the PMQ Live Update for what is today? Saturday, March 28th.
Saturday.
So we're here with Derrick Tung of Paulie G's Logan Square in Chicago. Derrick, member of the U.S. Pizza team, great friend. Thanks for being here, man.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I love the bandana. I can't remember who told me, but they said if you're not wearing a bandana, they would be very angry. So
no need for extra anger in this world. We got it. Yeah.
Well, we want to cover some topics. Again, guys, as we said, there might be some overlap and some repetitiveness on what these guys are doing, but I want to make sure that everybody knows what these guys are doing locally. And maybe somebody doesn't know. Maybe somebody doesn't know what they're doing. I'm sorry, I just started the broadcast, so now people can get in. Anyway, but yeah. As long as we can see that, if you're doing the same thing he's doing, at least we're right on track. So I did want to just kind of start it off like I started off with everybody really quick and just say, when did it kind of get real? What was the first adjustment you had to make in this new, in this very new reality?
Yeah. I think, for us, it started getting real right around probably Friday night. I think Friday night for me was just kind of even Thursday night before, it was kind of an eye-opener. And we saw just so many people still coming out, even though there were starting to be recommendations out there and them saying that, we should start doing social distancing. There was no mandate in place yet. But, for me, it was just this moral and ethical logic fighting with my business logic of, well, should I be shutting down? Should I be telling customers, they shouldn't be coming in here? We've got an hour wait on a Friday night. People are still trying to get into the restaurant. And I don't know what the right thing was to do. And for, 2 weeks before that, I was thinking about it for a long time. That Saturday, we saw a massive slowdown. And I think it was that Sunday that Chicago went into shelter at home mode. And once that shelter at home was announced, people just stormed our doors. And I think part of it was that mentality of, everyone's going to be home for the next 2 weeks. Let me get some of my favorite pizzerias. Let me support my local pizzeria that I want to support. And we just got, our biggest issue was we had 5 modes of entry. We had phone calls that we would take orders from. People walking in, we would take orders from. We had third-party Caviar, third-party Grubhub, and a third-party Ritual, which is a pickup app specifically. Our restaurant was never built for delivery and pickup. We do, each month we do about 87 to 90% of our food and drinks as dine-in. And so the other small 10 to 13% is a very small portion that adds up, but was never our primary goal. So, suddenly opening up the floodgates, no one could dine in. And it became such a huge difference that we realized immediately we needed to make some changes. So come Monday, we staffed up. We brought in some ex-staff that got laid off at other places. We closed off Ritual. Ritual is a great pickup app, excellent for regular day-to-day service. But our biggest issue at the time was, the farthest we could extend pickup was 25 minutes. And when we're weeded with tickets, there's no way you can do you can't sneak that 25-minute pickup in the window so easily. Other pieces of what we did, and then we stopped taking phone orders. Because what happened when we never took phone orders before. This was the first night that we decided, all right, well, things have changed. People can't dine in. Let's make sure we can still serve people. So we said, let's take phone orders. And what ended up happening was the phone just never, ever stopped ringing from the moment we opened.
Yeah, how many lines do you got?
We only have one. Because, again, we're not built for a pickup delivery, right? Whenever people call us, we direct them to our website for how to do pickup and delivery. Our host who picks up the phone will tell them how to do pickup delivery. We don't take orders over the phone. And so the moment we decided to take over the orders over the phone, it just became a problem. And we didn't have the manpower to keep up. So that Sunday night, unfortunately, we ended up closing down an hour and a half into service because at that point, some people were waiting 2 hours to be able to get a pizza. And the service portion was just terrible. I couldn't believe it. And on top of that, right after we had announced social distancing, we had 40, 50 people in the restaurant waiting for pizza between Caviar drivers, Grubhub drivers, and a lot of our regular guests that just wanted one last bite before they locked themselves at home for a while. So that opened my eyes. And that's when I reached out to a company that we had used in the past for special events called TOCK, T-O-C-K. They grew out of a group called the Alinea. For those that are familiar with, really fancy restaurants, Alinea's been in the top 10 of the San Pellegrino's world's best restaurants for a long time. And their group, they have a head chef, Grant Atchis, that's amazing. And then they have a business partner, Nick Kokonis, that runs the business side of things. and he's developed this reservation software for high-end restaurants that we've used for just some special events and things like that. But they developed a thing called Talk to Go in light of all the changes that have been happening. And so we signed up with Talk to Go, very reasonable, very transparent rates. Talk takes 3%, their credit card processor takes 2.9% and 30 cents per transaction. So we're talking about, right around just under like 5.9% plus 30 cents. So it's something that made sense for us, and it became a very clean transaction, right? People paid in advance. They came in at a pre-apportioned time, and we would always be within like 5 to 10 minutes of that time period. And we could limit how many orders we could take. So there was no crazy overflow. So what we have right now is for every half hour, we take 5 orders. And then if we find that our workload's low, we'll turn to Caviar and Grubhub and turn those up and just say we're ready to take more orders. And if we find that our workload's high, we'll turn those off and just focus on in-house and Talk orders.
Okay, so Talk kind of became your basis, your standard. And like you said, if there's time, or if you can get them out, you go over to Grubhub and Caviar. And I don't know if anybody was watching any of the graphics, but you can see that change happened within 2 days. The first one, where you guys pretty much almost had to shut down the phones, that was dated March 21st, and then 23rd is when you'd reached out to Talk. And now, I made the mistake, or when we were talking, I was confused. I thought it was an ordering service, almost something in kind of like a call center, but it's not. It's just a reservation. Basically, it's online ordering, right?
Yep, it's online ordering, but with specific times. So much like their original
reservation system.
Yeah, it's a reservation system. So, you put it in. They took the time to convert my menu all the way on. I made some minor changes. They built out everything for me within 24 hours of request, and it was live and ready to go. The key thing for me, everything I do is always employee centric, and we try to make decisions based on how the employees feel, and what would benefit the employees the most. So the key thing for me was things like Caviar and Grubhub. There are no tips coming into my employees. They get nothing, right? They put in the extra work, another Caviar order comes through, and that's great for the company, that's great for my company, but it's never great for the employee because it doesn't help them in the short term. It might help them in the long term, right? Maybe we developed a long-term guest that decides to come in and start tipping, but in the short term, it's not useful. So when we only had Caviar and Grubhub up, we got very few tips outside of our regulars that came through. The nice thing about Talk is, there's a tip function on there, and we find that a lot of people are tipping anywhere from 18 to 20 to 22% because those are the options. But also we were able to add an option for people to put in to chip in for an employee relief fund. And so we've been seeing lots of anywhere from $5 to $100 being donated to an employee relief fund. And especially during this time, all my front of house are pretty much out of work. Some of my back of house are out of work. So being able to even just scrape together, let's say $100 a person or $200 a person, help them with groceries or defer rent a little bit. All that stuff helps and goes a long way. So, it's the Talk system and platform and their support has just been amazing. I've been very happy with it.
Well, and like you were just saying, you kind of started it off talking about being a staff-centric attitude, trying to take care of them. And, for the fact that the others don't really offer that tip system, now this is taking care of them as well. So it's almost, I don't want to say like business as usual, but it's not interfering. They're not losing any tips or revenue. But it also kind of brings me to another thing, the staff-centric attitude. I mean, employee relief, or what kind of staff appreciation are you doing in your business to let the staff know that they're appreciated, and the people that you might have had to let go, that they can come back when it gets all normal?
Sure. I've been trying to email all our staff once every 3 to 4 days, depending on how I can find time out of my schedule, and sit down and let them know how our operation is going, and then inform them about, what's going on in legislation and what does that mean for them? What does that mean from an unemployment perspective, and what the best route may be for them? I took the time to calculate all their unemployment so that they understood, if you decide to chase unemployment, this is how much you'll be making per week. So you need to plan accordingly. When I let go of staff, when that happened, we gave every staff member anywhere from $500 to $1,000 out of my own personal pay, so that they had money to survive at least for like another, hopefully a month. If they're smart with that money, and can figure it out. But staff centric is really just, it's a leadership style that I've read about in the past, and I forgot the term for it. I'm forgetting it as we're talking right now. But really, it's serving your staff so that they can serve you better, right? It's taking care of each other ultimately. So, throughout this whole process, even from day one of having shut down significant portions of service, I just had a conversation with each individual staff member and said, listen, this is what's happening. What do you want to do? What are you most comfortable with? Because I don't want any staff here that feel uncomfortable, because I think that's a mental strain on them. This is a time where there's so much chaos in the world. The last thing they need is to be working at a place where they don't feel comfortable and they don't want to work. So every staff member that's working with me right now is because they want to work, whether it's for financial reasons or whether it's for, mental stability of having something where they can leave the house and do something that's normal in a world that's really not normal right now for us. So every decision we've always made has been staff-centric. Expansion of hours. We were exploring brunch for a while because there were some staff that wanted to do it. So looking into all these things, it's because staff want to do it. And so for my take, it's always, if the company can break even and the staff are making extra money, whether it's from tips and wages, and if we break even on that, then it's great. So why not do it?
What do you think? I don't want to say the percentage because it's probably difficult to calculate, but how many people, like you said, the staff wants to be there, they want to work, versus going on unemployment or something like that. How many people actually said, no, I want to stay and work and do what we can, even if they got their hours cut a little bit to help the rest of the staff, share the pie, so to speak.
Sure.
Was there a good percentage of them that stuck around?
At first blush, there was about 50. And then when push came to shove, it dropped down to probably closer to 30. So we're definitely pretty bare bones. We're at a point now where, if we lose 2 staff, we may have to shut down services, which honestly I'm okay with. Like if that's where the staff's heads are at, then I would rather them be healthy mentally and physically rather than feel like they have to work. And that's what I tell, I have a conversation with the working staff every day about that, just to make sure that they are where they need to be and where they want to be.
Okay. Well, and it's great that you're, taking from your pocket to help them because your staff, without them, you wouldn't have a restaurant. So, you gotta take care of it. And this is graphics been up here for a little bit, but you guys are doing, I saw that you started doing recipe videos, not even for just pizza, just favorite recipes. I think there was one for some cocktails up there recently too. So, but this is focused for the staff as well as the rest of the captive audience, all the people stuck at home. We got to do something or we're going to go crazy. So is this something that your staff suggested, or is this something you came up with and said, hey, let's do this, just trying to keep them motivated and happy,
Yeah, no, we had a couple staff members that suggested us doing some type of fundraiser, and they wanted to do YouTube tutorials as part of that fundraiser. So, we put that information out there for free. It's not like you have to pay to access our videos. But there is a link hidden in the description and in every video we say, if you've enjoyed this video, if you've come to, enjoy our staff, please take a moment and donate to the Employee Relief Fund. But yeah, the goal was to also give the public something to do. So whether that's learning how to make pizza on their own because they're now stuck at home, with kids possibly to entertain them, or whether it's trying a new recipe or something just to entertain them for a while. We wanted to put that out there. And it's a project for our staff to work on too. It gives them something to do, especially those that are at home and not working or unable to work.
And like you said, it's more, I don't want to say distraction, but it keeps you busy and motivated. And I did want to talk about, because it was set up kind of as a relief fund, or donation box. But obviously, you don't have to pay or give. You can give what you want. But that kind of that brought me back to this other thing that I saw on your Facebook again too, which I think is super important that we all need to talk about, is that fake news, fake GoFundMes, fake donation boxes. The importance of staying aware of your own brand and making sure it's not being used for some of these people who want to take advantage during this time. So, you found this. How would you go about, how did you find this? How would somebody go about looking for this, making sure their name's not being used in this light?
Sure. So I woke up yesterday morning and, I'd skim over my tweets. And like I said, Nick Kokonis, the owner, one of the co-owners of Talk, had tweeted about Yelp and GoFundMe setting up these pages. And so, I commented on it, and then I kind of went from there. And then literally 10 minutes later into my morning, one of my guests took a screenshot image of my Yelp page, and it's what you see here. Basically, when you Yelped Paulie G's Logan Square, this thing popped up, and they said, Yelp said that they were going to support restaurants that were having troubles in this time of need. Please click on here to go to the GoFundMe page. And, little do people know, but one, we didn't set it up. We were never notified about setting it up. From what I read today, they finally pulled all these pages out, but I guess they rolled it out early this week with the goal of, raising money for restaurants. And even if that's a pure goal, GoFundMe was taking 15% of it for their operating costs.
Yeah.
They were taking 15 cents on every dollar built into that. And again, it's something that we didn't agree to, right? And so again, I don't know if their intentions were pure. I've never been a huge fan of Yelp, but they do okay by me. But this is just, in my opinion, predatory practice.
Yeah, well, absolutely. Well, they didn't reach out. They didn't get your permission to use your name. It says, because it clearly says right there, support Paulie G's. Now, if they had reached out to you and said, hey, we're going to be setting these up. Do you mind if we use your name? Right. That's one thing, because who knows? Maybe they were just caught. And again, like you said, it could have been pure, and they just hadn't gotten around to setting up a fund and deciding what they were going to do with the money. But once they get their 15%, the rest of that is just, paperwork. They don't care, honestly. Again, we're all trying to stay afloat. We're all trying to make money in this, but I think it's more pure in the pizza section, because you guys are trying to make money, but you're not greedily. You're trying to do your best to help your staff and your customers and stuff like that. And this is just, like you said, predatory practice, which is terrible. Now, this was, again, done through Yelp. I mean, there are other ones out there too. I would highly suggest everybody Google your own business's name daily, just to make sure somebody's not trying to take advantage.
Yeah, and I think the key is, if you stay in touch with your guests will often reach out to you, especially if it seems fishy or anything like that. And that was the case here. My guests tell me about when we hit the news before I even know that we hit the news, and they told me about this before I knew it happened, and it was on Yelp. So it's just having clear communication with your guests and being on top of your social media, being on top of your guests when they come into the restaurant, and really getting to know them so that they're watching out for you too. Okay.
Well, and on a lighter note here, I was just, again, trolling through your Facebook, and I saw this, and, I like, sometimes you get those good crowns. I mean, this pie just looks delicious. Is it, do you think just being in social media presence are you trying to maintain that sense of normalcy? Yes. I don't want to say project strength, because you guys all are. You have to do it for your staff and your family and the community, but is it important to get some of these just regular posts put in there amid all the chaos, of, well, this is what we have to do, this is how we've had to change?
Yeah, I think more so now than ever, because people are, trying to quarantine themselves and they're stuck at home. Mm-hmm. And so what does this average public do now? They spend time on their phone. And if you're not traveling, if you're not going to work, and you're not tied up with work 8 hours a day, or whatever it is you're doing, you're on your phone more. So things like YouTube, things like Instagram, all these things are getting huge boosts and push. So, I'm not saying you should take advantage of the market, but you should definitely be out there, talking about your brand, talking about what's going on, and communicating with your guests, your followers, so that they know what's going on with you, because they are sincerely interested, whether it's out of boredom or whether because they love you and they've, and anywhere in between, they're sincerely interested in what's going on with other people's lives in the world. Because at this point, we have never been so more physically disconnected, but so virtually and socially connected than ever.
Yeah, well, and that's like you said, on your phone, now that you're not at work, you can be on there longer. And trust me, I know there's a lot of people, sometimes myself, who are on the phone way too much at work.
No, for sure.
It's become such a distraction. I remember, growing up, we didn't have that stuff. I thought it was all the rage to get a pager. Never had a pager.
We just put in a staff rule, actually, before all this COVID quarantining happened, where staff were not allowed to use their phones at all when they were, clocked in. And if they did, we would collect it in a basket and put it upstairs in the office. Huh. We've lightened up on that rule, just because there's been some significant changes right now in terms of how our operations work. We definitely have slower times, and we don't have guests in front of us either. So as long as the team's getting everything done in time as appropriate, especially with the chaos right now, I've lightened up on the rule and not really enforced it so much. I still poke fun at them when I see them break out a phone, but then I just say, you're fine, don't worry about it. So once we return to service, though, we're going to have to crack down all over again, for sure.
Well, that's what I was wanting to ask, is that, you're talking about, having that sense of normalcy. Are there areas where you think everybody should just kind of change the rules right away, or are there certain rules you think you should try to enforce, or we have to be lenient? I mean, as you said, you kind of laxed that rule a little bit. I mean, what do you think is best practice for people to do?
I think there's a whole bunch of new rules you have to enforce anyway now, right? Like we're pushing the 6 foot rule. We have X's on the ground, making sure guests that come in are 6 feet apart and doing our best to separate them.
Oh, nice.
Everyone separate and things like that. our cleaning schedule has gotten much, much more aggressive. I mean, we've cleaned everything all the time anyway, but now we're wiping down door handles all the time. We're wiping down, the bathroom door handles if people are using it, if any of our staff are using it. We're not allowing Caviar or other guests to come in and use our bathrooms because we have 4 bathrooms. And for us to break down and clean every single bathroom properly every night with all the disinfectant necessary is just a huge task. And no one's dining in anymore. So it seems silly for us to have to use all the bathrooms too. We're cleaning up our line even cleaner than it's ever been, doing the full disinfectant, all that stuff. It's stuff that we've done before anyway, but now it's just that much more tightly controlled and tightly watched. And part of that, is because of COVID. But the other hand also, we don't know when government's going to come around and say, guys, this is your last day. You are not allowed to be open now for the next 2 months or whatever it is. So every night I tell my staff, shut down like we're going to close down for 2 months. We don't want food exposed. We don't want little scraps or crumbs around. Like everything needs to be spick and span. Otherwise, we shut down for 2 months suddenly. Like who knows what we're going to return to in 2 months later.
Yeah, wasn't it what they tell fighter pilots? Just assume you're already dead, because it takes that fear out. You can't do it with that fear of that. Just assume you're already gone. I mean, that was very morbid. I'm sorry, I shouldn't even have said that. But I was watching Battlestar Galactica the other day, and that's what Starbucks said. So yeah. Anyway, or no, I think it was Kat. She said that. And I'm nerding out. Focus. I've been to your place, and it's a very large place. I mean, did you take out all your tables? I mean, I can see you're obviously sitting down. I mean, what did you do to that? I like how you said you had X's. You kind of had let them know where the safe zones were or the safe distances. Did you do other things to kind of avoid or deter people from wanting to sit, wanting to mingle, wanting to stay around, just kind of get them in and out? What did you do to kind of adapt that to tell people, here's your food, now scoot?
I mean, it's as simple as just keeping all the chairs up. Right.
Yep.
So we have all the chairs up. People can't sit down in any of the chairs. We do have some bar stools out, and we've been playing with the idea of whether we want to get rid of the bar stools or not. What happens is, we have guests that come in. If they order Detroit style pizza and we're slightly busy, it'll take 15 to 20 minutes for Detroit to come out. And so we do want to try to provide them some level of comfort. But what that ends up meaning is, we have to disinfect that chair again too. So it's another step in the process that we have to handle. So, we've toyed with the idea, but for now, I think we've decided to leave the bar stools in. They're not the most comfortable things anyway. But it should, it'll give people a place to sit if they're waiting a few minutes for pizza, and, it's a good thing.
All right. Do you think a lot of this, everybody stepped up their cleaning regimen? Do you think that's going to stick around after this? Because, once it's gone, doesn't mean it's gone forever. It might just be dormant for a while and come back, just like flu season, Right. Is this something you think is going to be the new normal, this level of, not to say that places weren't clean beforehand, but everybody stepped up their game. Do you think that's going to be the new normal after this, or think that's going to go back down?
No, I think it might be the new normal for a while, but I think eventually it'll fade. I think it's like anything. Like human nature eventually is to get lazy, right? And that's not even, it's not even a stab at my workers. It's just that's our nature. Like we do not want to be moving. Inertia is the standard, right? So ultimately, I think as this dies down, we're definitely not going to be cleaning our front door handle every single hour and disinfecting it every single hour. We're not going to be cleaning the bathroom handles like every 2 hours on a regular basis or things like that. It doesn't make sense. And plus, as we ramp up and hopefully get back to a normal busyness, there's no time for that. Like, are you really going to hire someone just to disinfect your door handles every hour? Realistically, not. But it makes sense right now, right? In our current state where we're trying to implement as much prevention and protection as possible, this needs to be done because it's the right thing to do.
Right. Well, these are all great tips. And, you guys, I know even our good friend, #Gianni Gallucci, is still, he's out there, having just opened up. You guys are getting hit hard with a lot of regulations in Chicago. Chicago's and Paninos. All you guys up there, even though it's not necessarily as bad as, say, like a California, Washington, or New York, as far as just the outbreak, you guys are still getting – you're pretty highly regulated right now.
I think we're not too far behind, unfortunately. Everything I read says Chicago is the next epicenter to take off, and we're going to see. We had some significant problems. Like, we have a beautiful Lakeshore Trail and a 606 trail that cuts through the city, and first nice day that kicked in, I could literally count like 50 people within a 5-second span of driving by, like congregate together, running, biking, doing stuff. So they shut that down recently. I feel bad for Gianni. Like, I feel bad for anyone that just opened up recently.
Lars, not Lars, but Leah Skirto out there in Windsor. I don't even think she had the door open when things started hitting. And Michael Wolf too. He got his brick and mortar out there in California as well.
I mean, for us at least, a lot of our support comes from our regulars and guests that have been in before that love what we do and that we've had a personal connection with. So any place that, just barely opened or hasn't even opened their doors, I can only imagine have it that much tougher. Because, if this had happened to us in the first 6 months of our opening, we would probably have closed and just lost the lease and given up at this point. It's not easy, man. It's not easy for sure. But that's why there's a relief bill coming, and hopefully it'll help.
Real quick, that was next up. We're not going to go too deep into that with it because either way. But I wanted to say, are you trying to? This is another topic coming up. Is that because everybody seems to be just a few weeks behind each other, just because of how it spreads? Are you modeling? Are you watching what these other states are doing and kind of getting ready, preparing, having a plan ready to go for that? Seeing what's happening in New York and getting ahead of the curve.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think there's only so much we can do as restaurateurs to prepare, right? And if you look at New York restaurants and California restaurants, they're still open. And even though the curve is exploding, they're saying restaurants are still essential functions, which, one can argue either way whether restaurants are essential or not. But we're still open and we're still functioning. And so I don't foresee a significant change for me. The trigger change for me is going to be when my staff tell me one day that I don't feel safe coming into work. I would rather be at home. And enough of them would rather be at home that we can't function properly anymore. Then that's the day that I'm going to close the doors and say, listen, guys, we've had a good run. Appreciate everything. Thank the public for all their support, and just say, we got to take care of our staff first and foremost. That's our family. Those are the people that take care of me and take care of the restaurant. So.
And do you have that contingency plan? I mean, is there enough reserve to where you can open back up when normalcy comes back?
I believe so. I've always been a firm believer of putting away 6 months of personal expense and at least 2 months of business expense. And fortunately, we've done well enough that I've been able to create some stores over the 3.5 years that we've been open. But it really does depend on, how long this drags out and how much latitude we get. Like the new bill, we were just talking earlier before we recorded. The new bill's definitely got some options. There's some complexities around how much can be forgiven or, the free money. And that's the piece that I've been trying to focus on as much as possible. The loan amount is pretty good. It allows a lot of people to get loans, and it's a 10-year loan with a 4% interest rate per year.
Mm-hmm.
But the free money is where people really need to focus in because, it's great to take a loan, but in some degrees you're just kind of kicking the can when you take the loan.
I know I keep hearing that term, kicking the can, and you're absolutely right, but the free money's the interesting part. And you, Lars, Smith, and Lamarca, you guys are keeping up on this, and you're kind of cutting through the weeds. And I can't do legalese, so I'm dependent on you guys to let us know. But like you said, the free money, zero in on that. Otherwise, you're kicking the can. I mean, would you suggest do one or the other? I mean, obviously you want the free money, but I mean, if you need it, I mean, the loan is worth getting or investigating at least, right?
Well, so there's multiple loans in the new act, and so the loan that I'm focusing on is called the payroll protection plan, and so that one gives you a loan up front, and then a portion of it is forgiven, which becomes that free money. And so it's really just making sure. I think what it comes down to is looking at what are the criteria for making it so that it is a forgiven loan. And it's only a portion of it. It's not like you can get the loan and get it all forgiven. But, the key is that it forgives payroll, especially for anyone that's under $100,000 a year. So that's, a lot of owners fall into that category along with their staff. It forgives any money spent on utilities, which is stuff that, especially in a big city, you're going to spend a lot on utilities. It also forgives rent. So you're going to be able to keep your landlord happy. And that forgiveness period is 8 weeks, so it covers a span of 2 months, which is great. The real question now is, how long is this new norm going to be? And if it's going to be longer than 2 months, this is going to provide some relief, but it's not going to significantly help the restaurants that are already struggling in the first place.
Like putting a Hello Kitty Band-Aid on a gunshot.
Right.
I don't know why all my analogies are so negative today. I don't know why. I'm sorry, but
no. Hello Kitty's all positivity. Hello Kitty's all positivity.
You see, I mixed and matched it, balance. But I mean, it's like you said, though. I mean, if 2 months is great, but what if it goes past that? So people should be cognizant and aware of that when they're taking.
Yeah, and I think the Restaurant Association did a presentation yesterday, and they talk about how this is not the end of it. There's going to be more coming down the road, and they're continuing to push for more support. I just wonder how much more support the government's going to be able to give ultimately. And so you just got to keep paying attention and, listen to your friends that are really in on this and really paying attention. Pay attention to like National Restaurant Association, because they're definitely out there gunning for us and helping us, and just putting out summaries. And if you don't have access to it, now's the time to at least just sign up for their free newsletters, because they have good access to information that us as owners, like, if you have time to get off the line to focus on something, that's great. But in this week I've set up Talk, an employee fund, set up some YouTube videos, communicated with staff, and finally sat down to look at legislation. You're wearing so many hats that any help that you can get always.
Yeah, and you're sitting here with me with all the technical difficulties, and I appreciate your time on that, man. That's the thing, is it's ever evolving, sometimes twice a day. So be ready to go.
For sure.
All right. Well, I did have a couple other things, but I mean, as far as like, I wanted to say like the recovery plan again. Thinking ahead. It's not gonna last forever. So,
right.
Have you had to change so much that you're going to have to think about recovery? Or, I mean, like, say people, do you have any best practices for somebody that maybe they lost some customers, you think? Is it not like getting out there and begging and pleading on Facebook, but, I mean, should they be addressing it now? It's like, look, we'll be back in 2 months, or, just stick with us. How are you addressing that, and how would you suggest others do it as well?
I mean, I think part of that we talked about, right? Being active on social media, making posts, and making sure to communicate with each of the guests that take time to communicate with you. And this is something I've talked about in the past. I mean, it's one thing to be pushing social media out and just telling people what's going on. It's a whole nother thing to sit there and actually take time to respond to everybody. That takes time to write something for you, right? To have that real interaction. Social media is not meant for just you pushing out and, just media. It's meant to be social. So if you're connecting with guests and you have a set of guests that love you and will connect with you and continue to chat with, even if you can't connect the face with the Instagram name, which happens a lot for me, they will come back and support you, and it's exciting, right? And they're on top of stuff too. They're, every guest out there is paying attention to the news and asking, when are we going to be able to get back to norm? When are we going to get back to norm? When can we go back to our favorite pizza restaurant, our favorite, Thai restaurant, or wherever, to have a meal, have a date night all over again? No one likes the situation we're in. So I think everyone's itching to get back to norm as quickly as possible. So I really feel, even though a lot of people say the economy is going to take a significant slump, I feel like it's going to come back faster than I think, at least in the restaurant industry area, because restaurants are such an integral part of people's lives.
Right. Well, and it's like you said, it's like maybe what I'm hearing is like not have that plan ready to go to put in play after the fact. Just stay normal and be out there so that you don't have to do that. Keep engaging.
Yeah, the goal is not recovery, right? The goal is still continuous engagement, so that people know what's going on with you. And if you're making changes, whatever it is, we've had a lot of people adjust to how we're doing things now, and people come in and ask how we're doing and take care of our staff in various ways. So it's been great, and that just comes from making that connection with guests any way you can.
Well, that brings me back to this. Let's go back to a positive. What the heck is that?
Oh, okay.
On Pi Day on 3.14, the March 14th, instead of doing a round one, you did a Detroit stuffed Chicago pizza.
Yes. So Nicole Bean from Pizarro's Napolitana is the one that came up with this idea originally. I think we had flirted with the idea, but never really executed one. And she played with one on Instagram, and it looked great. So then we copped the idea and we credited her. Her restaurant's name is on the menu wherever we do this, and we call it, the Pizarro stuffed style. And so what we do is we take a Detroit style pizza, we cut it in half, we layer mozzarella. Actually, we have a special right now where we layer American cheese in between too, so it's a little bit like a grilled cheese. But cheese of choice down the center, cap it off, cook it off, and you end up having this just gorgeous cheese bowl while it's hot. And so it's a stuffed Detroit style pizza. And, it was just so innovative that I wanted to try it. We tested it for a month with some of our regulars. They loved it. And so we added it to the menu. And it's been ordered off and on. It's not like a huge seller, but, I think part of that is just our menu design. We have to make some changes to that to highlight it. But it's definitely been very popular with guests that have tried a lot of our food and product on a regular basis. They think it's some of the best they've had. So it's exciting to play with. Yeah. That's it's a nice cheese pull going on there for sure.
Nice and steamy too. That's ready to go. So again, a little bit of positivity. You hit all over the ground there. Wow. So I guess we're probably not doing that much anymore. We're making sure to cut that cheese bowl so it doesn't touch the tables. But now, again, some positivity in this crazy times right now. I did want to just kind of ask along the lines. Again, a lot of people are doing pizza kits now, which is great. I love that idea because. And then there's even more along the idea of what you're doing with your videos. I think it was Michael Wolf. He put it in, and it's such a simple idea that people were asking about, directions and how to make your pie. Sorry, I was hearing music. Anyway, so he's like, well,
here, hold on. Let me ask him to turn that down. Hey, Will, you turn that off and do an interview. Thanks. Sorry, we're getting ready for the start of service, so we're just getting some music. We get folks pumped up, but we'll turn it down for a little bit.
That's fine, man. We're getting ready to go 8 minutes. That's all we need. So, but anyway, like I was saying is that, you got people were offering pizza kits, and then somebody was asking about directions. What do you do for this? And Wolf said, make a video, show them how to do it. But in a place like yours, which is wood-fired, pizza kits it's not a natural thing to progress to because wood-fired is very unique. Most people can't get those temperatures. And obviously, it's not going to be as good unless you have a wood-fired oven in your backyard. Yeah. So in lieu of that, what were you doing? I know you were doing the staff videos. I mean, is there anything else, like if somebody can't do a pizza kit, what would you suggest doing?
I've heard of other pizzerias and restaurants doing groceries. And so they're doing boxes or, special type of pizzas and things like that. I think you have to do what you're comfortable with and what you believe your guest base wants and what they'll buy into. I love the idea of pizza kits, but it's like you said, if we did Detroit style pizza, they would have to have a pan, they would have to have 4 to 6 hours rise time, they'd have to par bake, things like that. So unless we sell the pan with it, it'd be very difficult to do.
Yeah, no, and I was just even talking about the wood fire. I completely forgot you have that little section of your kitchen that's all Detroit too. So I mean, it's 2 very specific styles of pizza that are not conducive to doing at home.
Right. And so for us, we haven't changed our offerings too much. I know the city of Chicago has allowed us to sell beer and wine to go now. Normally, you need a package license for that. So they've definitely recognized that restaurants are hurting, and they've created some leniency in some of their policies. But ultimately, we may start looking at some package deals that we can do. But for now, we're trying to stay tried and true to our menu as much as possible, so that people can experience exactly what they're looking for, because they're coming in to experience what they had in the past, not necessarily try something brand new. I think pizza kits are a great idea. I think they're perfect, especially for parents with kids at home. It's an activity for them and something for them to be distracted by and something to learn something new. But it's not something that we're trying at this point. Yeah.
Well, no, and I think it was Ali Hayter, another U.S. Pizza team member. I saw his video, and I'm trying to get to him next week. I'm actually having, I don't want to say a difficult time scheduling, but I've got a lot of people who want to put a lot of messages out there. But I saw his video that was posted, we put up on PMQ, and he's doing pizza kits, but he's like throwing in little scarves and chef hats for the kids. So I don't want to say it's directly aimed at the kids, but like you said, that's definitely
genius. That's perfect.
Yeah, it's definitely something that the parents want the pizza too, but now the kids are happy as well. So
sure.
The level of ideas is coming out of the pizza industry is just it's mind blowing. It's just, I mean, it gives me that little bit of joy right now, and I'm tearing up as I'm talking about it. But so I mean, I definitely am going to try to get him on here in definitely this next week. I'm looking for my schedule so I can let people know who's coming up. But I wanted to say, I thank you for everything you've talked to us about. I know the relief bill was just signed. The ink is just dry. So we're all kind of diving into that. And I'm thinking maybe we can get some kind of panel later on with people like yourself, Lars, and Lamarca. And you said you had a lawyer friend, or not a lawyer friend, actual another pizzeria owner with a lawyer background.
Yeah.
Maybe cut through the weeds for us.
Yeah, the Stop Along Pizzeria in Chicago is a pizza burger joint. And his background, he was a nonprofit lawyer, and his wife is like a corporate lawyer. So they're a lawyer couple, and they know how to read legislation and documents far more in detail than I have. So we've had a lot of good talks. He'd probably be a good one to bring on. I'll try to connect you guys with him, and then we can hopefully bring him on.
Well, I would love that. I might have to bump some people and shift the schedule or something like that. But I think that's an important thing while it's still fresh right now for people to understand, so they can take advantage as soon as possible.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so we're tomorrow, Sunday, March 29th at 11 a.m. Central. We're going to have Joey Carvelis from Carvelis Pizza Co. In Hogansville, Georgia. He's going to talk about, and I actually did have another question, but to talk about fighting City Hall to get liquor and beer sales, and also kind of planning ahead. He had like 3 revenue models a couple months ago, or like a month ago. As soon as we hit this level, we're going to go to Plan B, and so just about being prepared. So, but I did want to ask you. I mean, as far as the liquor and beer sales that you guys are doing in there, did they regulate it? Can you put it in like a to-go cup, or does it have to be like unopened cans, unopened bottles? You're obviously not selling shots or cocktails. Do you have to sell the liquor bottles
I
at
think
cost?
there's definitely some leeway. I mean, in current times, they're not exactly sending around police to enforce this right now. So I know the bar across the street, which is really popular, they're doing to-go cocktails where they're selling like a whole bottle of the liquor, and then they're selling the mix in like a container. So basically, it's not. I think from their perspective, it's not open liquor because the liquor's still sealed. But they get all the juice mix and everything, however the mix is going to be in a separate container, and they're ready to take it home and make their own cocktails.
Yeah, and you got to buy it as the bottle, and it becomes at that point it's liquor store costs versus. I mean, you're not pricing it out at what a shot would be for the whole bottle, right?
Right. No, I mean, even our beer sales, like we've been putting it out there. It's more of a convenience as well as hey, let's support the restaurant because we're getting pizza. So, it's a lot like when you go to Costco and you just end up buying a bunch of other stuff that you didn't really have on your list that you wanted to get. It's convenience, right? You're there. You're like, oh, I'm getting the pizza. Let me get this bottle of wine too, so that I don't have to stop at Jewel or another place where I have to re-disinfect my hands and do everything all over again. So it makes sense, and it's good add-on sales. And you're taking care of your guests and keeping them safer, hopefully, too.
Right. And it's very important for everybody to get online right away when what you're doing and let them know that. Just let them know of the little changes that are now available in these times. But, again, projecting that era of strength and normalcy because we want it to stay normal. And, I think people are doing a really good job. There are some stupid people out there right now. But for the most part, I think we're doing our best. And, and it just, brings a tear to my eye to see humans being human. It's nice.
Yeah, humans trying to support each other and be human as much as possible.
So, again, I want to thank you for your time today, Derrick. I know you're getting ready to go, but give me a couple more minutes. I just want to say, is there one final message that you want to put out there? And if people can contact you and have questions or something like that, how can they reach you? So just the final thought and, how people can contact you if you want them to.
Sure. My final thoughts is something that I've been sharing every day with people over my Instagram live feed. Honestly, like now is the time to support small business. If you have a favorite restaurant, a favorite buddy in a restaurant or whatever it is, go out there and help them out and buy either gift cards or just support them in buying pizza or buy other things. Because, small businesses, especially restaurants right now, are hurting and they need all the help they can get. We don't know how much they have financially to survive and how long they can weather this kind of storm. So, every day that I come into work, I purchase a meal to feed my staff with. Sometimes it's a snack if it's an expensive restaurant. Sometimes it's a whole meal if I can afford it. And we buy it so that we're supporting small business where we can. And the other piece of message is, this is the time to reach out to loved ones. Whether it's your parents, your significant other, an ex-girlfriend, ex-boyfriend, whatever it is, someone that's made an impact in your life and just help make sure that they're okay, right? Because everyone's going through something. And you don't know what that is. So if you can help make someone's day a little bit better, a little bit brighter, that's important to do. And more than ever, this is the time to do it. Because like I said, physically, so many of us are alone and so many of us are stranded, but virtually we can connect with each other so quickly. And it only takes a moment just to check in with people.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I was trying to get a new webcam for this because I don't think mine's good enough. And, that's the one thing that currently unavailable. Because everybody's buying them now because this is
sanitizers, webcams, and
right. Well, this is all the new shows. Everybody's doing this. So, but like you said, just bring some joy into people's lives. Reach out when you can. I would like to, if I can. I almost forgot, but I want to bring some joy into everybody's lives here, real quick. Little Red 5. Look at that, and how can you say that this world is not beautiful? She's that little rebel. I love that helmet. Can I borrow that for Halloween this year?
Yeah, I don't think it'll fit your dome, man. We can try. But
I'll cut it in half and put an extender in the middle. But so I definitely wanted to say, thank you, and we're going to have some more of these updates, and we're definitely probably bring Derrick back on. We're going to try to get you the best information in the best timing possible, so that it's current and relevant and ready to go so that you are on the ball and ready to go, and you don't miss a boat on anything that can actually help you and your business. I do hope there are other like consumers out there watching these too, because the message is still good. It's to go out there and support local as best you can, only if you can do it safely. So coming up again on Sunday, we have, on Sunday we have Joey Carvelis of Carvelis Pizza Co. Then on Monday, we're going to have Will Grant at 11 a.m. Central. Will Grant of That's a Some Pizza from Bainbridge Island, Washington. He's going to talk about having like a one unit and how it affected him and how some of his jealousy wore off when he didn't have to worry about multiple units. Then we have John Stetson of Stoner's Pizza Joint in Fort Lauderdale. He's doing some free lunch programs. He started it, for kids, and it's kind of evolved in that to free lunches and meals for first responders and so on. And so and then I've got Nick Bogaz, George Taylor, Mike Donaker, Ali Hayter again, RC Gallegos, and Donatella Arpaio, Food Network chef, Iron Chef Judge. She has a couple restaurants in New York, and she's actually had to close them. So I want to talk to her about how it is, having to have actually closed and what those plans are to, get her employees back. So
Sure.
I just, I can't thank you guys enough. Thank you guys for tuning in. Derrick, thank you so much for your time. Give your little girl a hug for me.
Thank you.
Thank your staff.
Yeah. If anyone ever needs to reach out to me about anything, please hit me up on Instagram, Paulie G's Logan Square. And then if it becomes easier, we can always connect through a different method. But I'd rather start there. And, like I said, I respond to every single one. I read every single one of them. So please reach out and let me know how I can help.
Awesome. Thanks again, Derrick. Have
All
a
right,
great day,
Brian.
brother.
You too.